Hey everybody, happy Friday. Hey Michael, and hey Bender. Thanks for joining us here on the stream. So it's Friday. Of course, that means it's another PCDIY show live stream, and we're going to be kicking it off with a couple of different announcements. We're going to be talking about our new range of X570S, or what are essentially the X570 passively cooled series of motherboards that we're going to be launching here. We've actually got a total of 4 motherboards that we've gone ahead and previously kind of teased, but today's the kind of the formal announcement where we're showing off images for all 4 of the boards, where we have gone already showed off, of course, the CROSSHAIR 8 Extreme as well as the X570 ProART Creator board, where we also have an ROG Strix update, as well as we also have a TUF Gaming update. Hey Luis, happy to have you here, man. Thanks for joining us for the stream. So in addition to those 4 boards, we're also going to be talking about 2 new monitors that we've got. One from our kind of general standard VE series, which are going to be great for kind of just everyday upgrades, or just being able to look to have a monitor. It's going to be part of a general kind of work flow, general usage, but still good quality. At a much more reasonable price point than you might have at, let's say our premier kind of high-end gaming monitors, or like our professional ProArt series displays. But we've also got an update for one of our ProArt series monitors. We'll be talking about some UEFI updates, and of course answering any of your guys' questions. Hey, Mayoku, I believe, if I'm saying your name right. Hopefully I am. Thanks for joining us here on the stream. So overall, guys, let's go ahead and get things kicked off, and let's start things off, I guess, with our UEFI updates. So in terms of UEFI updates, I went ahead and posted the updates today in our ASUS PCDIY group. If you guys are not familiar with the ASUS PCDIY group, I'll drop the link in the stream chat, and you guys can definitely check it out. But it is a fantastic place and a community that we have that essentially is all about our ASUS PCDIY ecosystem, from our motherboards, graphics cards, monitors, pretty much everything in between when it comes to all of our components, as well as, of course, your guys' builds, questions, comments, feedback, insights, all kinds of things going on there. I post essentially a full UEFI kind of consolidated list for both our Intel and AMD solutions every Friday. It gets posted up there in terms of a big kind of table that has all the corresponding motherboards. If there's kind of important notes or anything like that, I go ahead and drop those into the general post. But normally, of course, you can check out any corresponding release note information if it's available on your corresponding motherboards product page. For this week, there was quite a number. I think in total, there might have been something in the range of I think over 200 UEFI releases, so quite actually a heavy set of releases. But the majority of those releases are going to be targeted actually towards formally implementing Windows 11 readiness support. Now, this doesn't mean that if you're somebody that is going to be essentially doing beta testing with some of the kind of insider releases for Windows 11 that are out right now, that if you don't have this UEFI release, that it won't work. It essentially is going to allow for better interoperability once the formal release for Windows 11 comes about, because there's some changes in terms of some of the requirements for how the UEFI has to be set to be able to correctly complete a full boot into the Windows 11 environment. We are essentially making those underlying changes to comply with those requirements for Windows 11. That being noted, you can manually make these adjustments and these changes natively within the UEFI. And if you've probably already installed the test build, you probably already did that. So it's not a requirement. And as always, I strongly recommend that you take a look at the full kind of FAQ and README that I have posted with the UEFI updates to have you have a better kind of sense of whether or not you should actually update your UEFI. Okay. So that's the link there for you guys if you guys are interested in terms of checking that out. Just see if there's any questions on that side. Okay, we're looking good. All right, guys. So again, those UEFI updates have gone ahead and been released. There were also a couple of AM4 centric updates that were continuing kind of the trend for the latest AGISA release, which is the 1.2.0.3 release, which I believe is on patch C. Again, this is a very mature level AGISA build, and it was predominantly kind of focused for users that may still be experiencing certain types of USB interoperability or compatibility or stability kind of experiences in relation to their system. So if that's something that you're still kind of dealing with, then that might be a UEFI release that you may want to go ahead and try out. I'd also recommend using the AMD reporting tool that they have available if you're still continuing to experience that, and definitely feedback as well to our team. But if you're kind of already running a system that's stable, reliable, especially if you've overclocked your system, I would strongly recommend keeping the current UEFI release that you are running. Hey, John, happy to have you here on the stream. Good to have you here, man. Okay, great. So that covers up everything in terms of the most recent UEFI releases. So next up, we've got some new product announcements, right? And I think really, of course, the focus as of late for us has really been on the motherboard side. Of course, the updates that we've been promoting for the X570S. Now, there's been some confusion. Some people think that X570S actually means a new chipset. It's not a new chipset. The X570S kind of was essentially an update that AMD released in terms of the AGISA for motherboards that may feature essentially a passively cooled chipset design implementation. So what I'm referring to here is if we take a look at, let's say, our ProART board that I've got right here. This section down here is the chipset, right? And on our traditional X570 series of motherboards, they have, of course, an active airflow design because they actually have a chipset fan. On newer motherboards that we have that are under essentially this passively cooled design implementation, which there's a total of 5 of them, with the first one being the CROSSHAIR 8 Dark Hero. This portion doesn't have a fan anymore. It's essentially just a large chipset heatsink. And in that regard, there was an AGISA update, but there's some confusion. Some people kind of think that there's essentially a new chipset. There's no inherently new chipset. They're still exactly the same exact chipset, the same overall interoperability, performance, all the standard items that you would expect in terms of X570 are identical. There are, of course, going to be differences for those boards in terms of maybe different functions or features that might be present. So, of course, comparatively, if you're looking at other boards, then you might find differences in that regard. But from a chipset perspective, there's no difference. That being noted, we do actually have 4 boards in total, so I actually want to show those off to you. So 2 of them we've already gone ahead and announced and kind of detailed a little bit. There will actually be a full live stream next week on all these new X570 motherboards, so make sure to go ahead and join us there if you want to get the full deep dive, where I'll go into every single aspect in terms of the features, function, design, layout, specifications for the CROSSHAIR Extreme. That's the CROSSHAIR 8 Extreme, the X570 ProART Creator board, as well as the X570 RG Strix model, the X570-E Gaming 2, and then as well as for the TUF Gaming X570 Pro 2 model. But we'll definitely show off those pictures right here, give you guys a little bit of insight right now as it goes. So first things first. Hey, David. So not sure on your question if you want to clarify. So the passive cooler that I'm referring to, yeah, I can definitely go ahead and show that to you a little bit more closely. Let me go ahead and get my kind of secondary B-cam kind of set up right here. And we'll take a little bit of a closer look. But specifically what I'm referring to is going to be this area right here. So this is the actual chipset. So this is the... In the past, it was referred to sometimes as the South Bridge, but now it's just referred to as the general chipset for the motherboard. So this is the actual heatsink that is cooling this portion. On our traditional motherboards, well, let's say not traditional, but on our first generation of X570 series motherboards, these all feature an active airflow-based design. So there's an actual chipset fan that blows down air on top of a heatsink assembly and helps to cool that area. We also actually do have some additional design work where it actually shunts air across one of the M.2 drives to provide some additional thermal dissipation for the M.2 drives. But that's what we're referring to specifically when we talk about a chipset base being passively cooled. Because, of course, for the rest of the motherboard is already passively cooled because there's no active airflow, right? If we take a look at the VRM heatsinks, those heatsinks themselves are already passive. There's no active airflow there. And, of course, any airflow that you have from the system is either going to come from your CPU cooling solution, like a tower heatsink, or maybe from cross ventilation that you have from front intake fans, or maybe from an intake fan configuration if you have top-mounted fans, or kind of whatever it might be in that regard. But let's go ahead and just kind of recap, show off these 4 new boards that we have. So the first ones, and I will show kind of direct images so you can see them a little bit more closely. But the first one is going to be this guy right here. Absolutely stunning board. This is the CROSSHAIR 8 Extreme, and it is a absolutely beautiful board. It's a little bit hard to almost see because it has such a high gloss reflective based kind of design, but it's got a beautiful clean monochromatic design aesthetic. And then you'll see here in the ROGI, excuse me, right here, the Republic of Gamers, and then this entire bottom portion right here, you almost will see that it literally is shiny like chrome. We're using a new actually layering process, and that actually new composite material has a beautiful kind of just really reflective property to it that just really, like I said, offers an almost chrome line accent appearance, along with that kind of that more matte, you know, metal that you have throughout the entirety of the board, because this board is pretty much all metal. These are huge, massive aluminum heat sinks. It's an extended aluminum heat sink here. Then this is all aluminum as well. It's a really heavy weighted board, but it's got just a stunning Decide aesthetic. And I will go ahead and put this a little bit a closer look in terms of the B cam right there. But beautiful board. Of course, here in the center, you also have this large 2-inch OLED display. So this is the live dash display, so you can see live stats and information right there. There are multiple RGB lighting zones, including a full RGB lighting strip that's here on the side, but it's up to you if you want to kind of go with a more kind of RGB lit build, or you want to go with a kind of more stealthy build. Both will work out for you. Kind of general recap. This is really the end-all be-all. This is the ultimate flagship X570 based motherboard. So, you know, 90 amp power stages, super high-end 18 power stage configuration, Thunderbolt 4, 10 gigabit LAN, Wi-Fi 6E, dynamic OC switcher technology. It's got 4 internal USB high-speed interconnects, including 2 USB Type-Cs and 2 USB 3s. It comes included with a even higher grade Supreme Effects audio design, where it has the latest generation 4000 series audio codec, which is supplemented by an ESS Saber DAC implementation. We have some revamped fan controls, which have been designed along with fan output amperage for the what are called radiator or kind of fan grouping configurations that are specialized for water cooling setups. There's a whole lot that kind of has been really baked in here to really be able to offer an impressive level of performance. And on top of that, you know, it comes with this guy. So this is, if you haven't seen it, this is the little DIMM.2 accessory. This board in total can actually support up to 5 M.2 SSDs. So you could put 2 of those M.2 SSDs on here, and then they would install there like that. And now you would have your 2 M.2 SSDs there. There's 1 M.2 SSD that will go underneath the live dash display, and then 2 that will go underneath here. So that's a total of 5 M.2 SSDs. So that's the Extreme. Let me just show you quickly some quick pictures of it, if anybody's got any quick questions on it. Yeah, so John's asking about the price for this one. Confirmed pricing right now is going to be, I think, projected for $799 as the MSRP price point. Definitely it is the most expensive X570 board that we have, but when you consider, like I said, the Thunderbolt 4, the improvements in the VRM design, the 10 gigabit, the Wi-Fi 6C, the inclusion of course, the higher quality audio design, it will also come with the ROG Clavis DAC. In addition to that, it also will come with, like I said, that DIMM.2, and it also comes with a what we call essentially a second gen expandable hub solution, which will give you more fan headers as well as more ARGB headers. So that's going to be all included inside the box. So let me go ahead and just bring up some kind of additional images here for this guy. And again, we'll do a full live stream for this model, along with all the other X570 boards that I'm going to be talking about next week. So if you guys are interested, just make sure to follow our social media channels or be part of the PCDIY group, and you'll get the announcement there to be able to cover everything when we're talking about that. Okay. And let me know if the visual on that one's a little bit distracting. I can change it up and I'll swap it out there. But there's a close-up shot right there for the CROSSHAIR 8 Extreme. And you can see it there with the RGB lighting versus how I have it here. If we go a little bit more kind of side by side, where you can see here, it's in that kind of that monochrome aesthetic, right? Super clean, but there you have it lit up. So you've got that one RGB lighting zone that's right here. Then you have the OLED display, which is not RGB, the RGI, and then that full RGB light strip that's on the side of the board. Okay. All right, guys. Water cooling. So if you're not clear about your question in terms of is there water cooling, of course, the board fully supports water cooling. It's actually really kind of been purpose built for that because it has a dedicated water cooling zone. So it has temperature inlet, temperature outlet monitoring, flow monitoring built in. It has specialized fan headers, which are designed for actually a higher amperage output, so you can run more grouped fans if you're running a PWM splitter cable and outputting along those lines. You have more temperature input sources. There's a lot of flexible elements, and we have already pre-tested this, of course, with different types of blocks. Like take, for instance, like an EK, magnitude or something along those lines, if you wanted to put a block in there. In terms of like a mono block, which you might see on something like our CROSSHAIR Hero series of motherboards that feature water block monoblock support. In that regard, as of right now, there is no monoblock, but most users as a whole generally do not use a monoblock solution. Most users are generally just using a CPU block, and then of course, if they're going to optionally water cool their graphics card, a block for the graphics card. Okay. And no, it's not yet available. This model, along with every of the models, we'll be talking more in depth when we talk about these in next week's live stream. But we gave an availability update on this model and the creator board last week. And essentially, we are going to be looking for a release towards the very end of this month and moving into the beginning of September. That would probably be more likely for the creator. The Extreme, you'll probably be able to get your hands on the Extreme before the end of the month. Okay. All right, guys. So next up, let's go ahead and talk about the X570 creator. Oh, actually, before I get into the creator, let me actually just give you that closer shot there. And I'm going to swap the boards out. I'm going to go with the creator here. I was looking for that. All right. Another just beautiful board right there. Okay. And we're just going to take a little bit of a closer look here at this Extreme here. All right, guys. So here you can see, actually, let me take that off there because it's not the creator yet. But you know, like I said, we're going to do a deeper dive. We'll even take off the heat sinks. We'll do a lot of stuff, but you can see just the massive heat sinks on there. That beautiful finishing right there. This is a fully extruded, also aluminum on here, so it's an extended kind of heat sink design. You can see here the. See if I can. Give me one sec. Readjust this right there. There you go. You can see that really nice, kind of beautiful, almost chrome-like appearance. There's the RGI, multiple front USB 3 that's on there. This also has a lot of right-angled based designs as it's an EITX-based form factor. And here's that DIMM.2 based adding card. You can see. And as I noted, the additional 3 other M.2, right, you're going to have one that's going to be underneath here, and then there's going to be 2 that'll be in there. And these also do feature the new Q-Latch M.2 design, and we'll talk about that in a little bit. Okay. All right, guys. So going back over here, now next up here is going to be the creator board. So this is the follow-up to the B550 creator that we offered. And again, this is a passively cooled board. Kind of the theme with all 4 of these motherboards that we're talking about right now is that they are the X570 chipset. They feature a passive chipset, so that means that there's no fan for the chipset. They all at least have 2.5 gigabit networking, and they all come with Wi-Fi 6E. So that is the latest, fastest Wi-Fi 6 standard in terms of speed. It is important to note, though, for Wi-Fi 6E to fully benefit from Wi-Fi 6E, you do need a compatible Wi-Fi 6E router, like our AXE 11000, as well as you have to be running Windows 11. Wi-Fi 6E is not operable under Windows 10. Okay, and there's also the integration across all of these to support our ASUS two-way noise canceling technology, which is part of kind of the audio design. Okay, so here you can see it's got a really nice, clean, kind of stylized aesthetic. It's pretty much very clean, minimal, professional, which follows the kind of the design language that we have with our ProART products. Is it's really kind of designed for a professional prosumer. It's not necessarily as kind of edgy or as, let's say, kind of sharp as the ROG products, but at the same time, I think they both have a clean, you know, monochromatic design aesthetic, although you have these nice kind of gold accents that are on the creator board that I think look fantastic. This one, like the Extreme board, you get a lot of big upgrades here, is that this is also going to be 10G, Wi-Fi 6E, has Thunderbolt 4 as well. Doesn't support up to 5 M.2, but it does support 3 M.2 based SSDs that you can run on this, and quite a number of other items, including also our Control Center Express technology, which gives you remote monitoring and management options for the motherboard, which is pretty cool. So this is going to be the creator board. Let's go ahead and show you an image here. Yes, in terms of overall Windows 11 support, every single one of these models is all going to feature Windows 11, as we talked about a little bit earlier in today's stream. We've already begun to wide roll out our Windows 11 UEFI releases, so you are good to go in that regard. And of course, you're seeing a broader distribution of drivers that are available from partners like Intel, NVIDIA, AMD, and many of the other partners. And as we get closer to the validation and actually formal release of Windows 11 in Q4, you'll of course continue to see more messaging from us. But as of right now, really you're only installing it if you're running kind of one of the development or beta releases. But all of these motherboards, in fact, all current ASUS generation motherboards, we are already committing that they will support Windows 11. So that means whether you're talking about B550, whether you're talking about X570, Z590, all current generation platforms are all going to support Windows 11. So let's go ahead and just show you a little bit of a side-by-side image here. This is just a little bit of closer up image for you guys to take a reference from. And again, this model, similarly, just like the Extreme board, we have already been to push out in terms of channel distribution. It'll be coming a little bit after the Extreme, where, like I said, the Extreme will probably be more likely to be available before the end of the month. The creator will probably ship in terms of overall availability a little bit probably closer towards the beginning of next month. So a little bit probably more likely for a September timeframe, okay? And in terms of your price point for the creator board, that one is going to be coming in at $429.99, okay? Important to keep in mind, again, this board does come with 10 gig networking, Wi-Fi 6E, and Thunderbolt 4, all natively on the motherboard, okay? All right, guys, great. Let me go ahead and get ready. And we're going to jump to the two newer boards that we have within the lineup. And these guys are going to be pretty sweet in terms that if you've kind of been waiting for something in our ROG Strix lineup or in our TUF Gaming lineup, I think you guys are going to be really excited by these two boards. So let's go ahead and take a closer look at those guys. So I'm going to go ahead and just switch out the creator. I'm going to put back the Extreme because it's such a good looking board right here. And again, remember, guys, we'll have a full live stream next week on these series of boards. They'll be diving into everything, and we'll be talking about all these kind of awesome boards and their features, functions, and specifications. Okay. So next up, we've got the X570E Gaming 2. Okay. So this is going to be an update compared to our second generation, excuse me, an update to the first generation X570E board. And let's go ahead and bring this up. So give me 1 second here. And I'll actually let me keep the images up for the other board as well, and that way you guys can kind of see a little bit of side by side. Actually, I need to resize this image, so one moment, guys. Sorry about that. And if you guys do want to get a little bit of a kind of a first look preview already at kind of things, you can go ahead and actually check out our edgeup.asus.com website, where we actually do have a kind of already a first look preview on all four of these boards, which give you a rough breakdown in terms of the kind of their key specifications and kind of their design segmentational focus. But like I said, we'll be diving into all of that in next week's live stream. Okay, great. We've got the board now here. And let's go ahead and load it up for you guys. So this is the X570E Gaming Wi-Fi 2. So you can definitely see it has that little bit kind of more Strix flair to it in terms of the overall design aesthetic, right? You've got multiple RGB lighting zones. And pretty much this was already a very popular board, very proven, very validated in terms of the community's experience in terms of being a stable and reliable board, having really solid overclocking capabilities. I'd say kind of the big items of note here are going to be that, of course, we talked about already, has that Wi-Fi 6E. You get the ASUS two-way noise canceling technology. But I think the really exciting part is that this board, I can confirm you will be coming with our dynamic OC switcher technology. So dynamic OC switcher was first released on the CROSSHAIR 8 Dark Hero, and then is also, of course, present here on the CROSSHAIR 8 Extreme, but is also now seeing an introduction to the X570E Gaming 2. And so with this feature, it's really for those of you that really looking to kind of tweak and tune and maximize the performance you can get out of Ryzen 5000 series CPUs, because you'll essentially have that flexibility of having to define two different operating profiles that can easily kind of be switched to dynamically. So you've got either kind of, let's say, a PBO-centric profile, where if you want to maximize kind of single-threaded frequency performance, then it can operate under that environment. And then when you're in that more kind of a all-core type of workload scenario, where you would favor maybe potentially having a little bit lower frequency, but having that frequency consistent across all cores, it can switch over into that level of operation. So that dynamic OC switcher technology will now be present across 3 different motherboards: the current passively cooled CROSSHAIR 8 Dark Hero, the CROSSHAIR 8 Extreme, and now the X570E Gaming 2. Very, very cool board. I'm very excited about this one right here. And here, if we just want to kind of take a look at side by side, there's kind of side by side next to the ProART and the X570-E. And now we've got one more board, which is going to be the TUF Gaming X570 Pro Wi-Fi 2. So this is, again, an update to kind of the venerable and really kind of community favorite TUF Gaming X570 Plus and Pro models. The Pro model was released not that long ago, but it was kind of a supplemental update that offered a little bit more connectivity available and a little bit of an upgrade for those users that maybe say wanted kind of USB Type-C internal header and things along those lines, as well as some kind of other nominal improvements. And here we can kind of taking a little bit further. You get the Wi-Fi 6C, the ASUS two-way noise canceling, and the passively cooled chipset design. So this will, of course, be the lowest cost and a great option if you're looking, again, to be able to build around a Ryzen 5000 series CPU. So let's go ahead and show you off this guy. Okay, there we go. There's the TUF Gaming X570 board. Now, both the TUF Gaming X570 board as well as the ROG Strix X570 board will be coming a little bit later. So they won't be part of the initial launch with the X570 CROSSHAIR 8 Extreme and the X570 ProART Creator board. Those, like I said, will be available first, and then as we move more into Q4, that's when you'll see availability for the ROG Strix board and for the TUF Gaming board. And we'll also be releasing pricing once those boards actually get closer to availability. And as always, if you want to kind of be kept up to date as these boards essentially are getting pushed out in terms of availability, just make sure to join us here on our weekly PCDIY stream or join our group, and you'll definitely be kept up to date in that regard. And here, just kind of side by side, we can take a look at all three of the boards and even the Extreme right there. So in total, that's all four of the X570 passively cooled boards that we're going to be offering. And if you actually consider that we also have the CROSSHAIR 8 Dark Hero, which is right now available and offers a fantastic set of features, also has dynamic OC switcher technology, and has absolutely been, I think, one of the, in favorites in terms of kind of water cooling enthusiasts, tweaking and tuning enthusiasts, and high-end building enthusiasts for AM4 and X570 and high-end RYZEN builds, then that is another option for you. So in total, we've got 5 passively cooled X570 boards. And again, if you're kind of deciding whether or not you need to go all the way up to one of these boards, do keep in mind that if you don't necessarily need everything that the X570 chipset is offering you, or kind of the more specialized features and functions that we have here, we have a great set of B550 motherboards, and all B550 motherboards have a passively cooled chipset. And kind of the key difference, if you're kind of not aware, in most situations outside of kind of board-centric features and functions, is going to be that, and the X570 versus the B550 chipset, that chipset and the corresponding PCI lanes from that chipset are going to be Gen 4 on X570, as well as from the ones from the CPU are Gen 4, where on B550, the lanes from the CPU are Gen 4, but the lanes from the chipset are Gen 3. Okay. Hey, Jim. So we don't talk about anything that is essentially under design, development, embargo, or NDA, right? We definitely always excited about kind of teasing any type of products which may be under design or development that we've already announced, either within our group or kind of in other spaces, and we can definitely comment on that. But anything that essentially is, as I noted, end design and development into a future kind of roadmap product, we definitely don't talk about that in that regard. But, I would definitely advocate that if you always want to be kind of up to date for the most recent things that right when they're coming out and being announced, make sure to be part of our group. And I'm really active there in terms of trying to give you guys the most up-to-date information on whatever we've got coming down the pipeline. Just like we teased these boards considerably before any other space where, you were able to find out about them. All right, guys, so that wraps up the introduction for the 4 new boards that we're going to have for the X570 family. And we're going to be really excited about offering these guys here. Let me actually get a little PCB holder just to set this guy down here for a moment. I can move it a little bit over. Actually, we'll just get it out of the way here, so give me 1 second. All right, guys. So that wraps up everything on the X570 side of the fence. And again, to recap, price points, let's go ahead and confirm for you there. The CROSSHAIR 8 Extreme will be coming in at $799.99, and then the ProART X570 Creator Wi-Fi will be coming in at $429.99. Okay. Great. So next, we've got two monitors that we're going to be talking about. So first up, we're going to be talking about our PA329CV. So if you guys aren't familiar with the PA series, that is part of our ProArt line. It's essentially our line that is really kind of focused towards content creators and professionals, prosumers, or any kind of just monitor enthusiast that really appreciates, you know, color fidelity, color quality, and the ability to have accurate color calibration. That's really kind of the hallmark of our ProArt series monitors. When we expanded upon this lineup with the CV series, it was also offering a new lineup that was going to be more price aggressive while still offering kind of the hallmarks of high color quality in terms of a monitor, but not necessarily in terms of as high of a price point as we would have, let's say, on our flagship, you know, let's say, you know, mini LED and full array local dimming type of monitors, which were considerably more expensive due to their backlighting technology. So here we're looking at more kind of traditional based monitors, but they can still give you an outstanding experience. So let's go ahead and take a closer look at this model right here. Now, one of the cool things that we're going to be introducing with this model specifically will be that this model actually comes included with our new C-clamp mounting design mechanism. So let's go ahead and first take a look at the monitor itself, and I'll bring up the page for you guys and we'll take a look here. So give me 1 second. There we go. Okay, got it up for you guys here. Here we go. Perfect. And okay, so there we guys go. You guys can see right here, this is the ProArt 329CV. So it's 32 inches, IPS-based display, 4K in terms of resolution, 100% sRGB coverage, which you can see, which is really a big, 100% Rec 709. The color accuracy delta performance is outstanding. Of course, this already goes through factory calibration and it's Kalman verified. We, of course, have a close collaboration there, which allows you to even further fine-tune this yourself over time if you want to be able to do that. USB-C connectivity, and this USB-C connectivity is quite rich. So that means that actually you're going to be able to pass not only the data signal, but high-speed connectivity and also up to 90 watts through this in terms of if you've got pass-through connection. HDR 400 and the C-clamp design along with our ergonomic adjustment. So the cool thing here is that keep in mind that for this C-clamp design implementation, it comes included with the monitor. So you've got flexibility, even though we have this really nice ergonomic base design already. So if we take a look here, we're going to see, of course, that you've got that high resolution support. The HDR modes, we have multiple specialized HDR modes that we've tuned ourselves specifically for different types of workflow environments. That is important because the optimizations that we're doing are specifically in line with the performance for the panel, the specifications for the panel. Something that kind of often gets overlooked is going to be your range of adjustments and options. So one of the things that differentiates kind of our ProArt series monitors is that you have what's called 6-color access control. With many monitors, you might only have like a 3-color access control, and there might not be additional points of, let's say, grayscale adjustment. You have all of these options available to you on a ProArt monitor, so you can really go in and fine-tune the actual experience much more precisely. And again, this is going to maybe be more important for those of you that are going to be using it for photography, for videography, content creation workflow, but even somebody that maybe is not as focused, let's say, on ultra high refresh rate from gaming, but still occasionally also joins gaming, but loves, you know, a accurate, super sharp and beautiful image, can definitely still appreciate this. That USB-C connectivity is integrated here. Of course, you can see HDMI, DisplayPort, a USB-C hub. This is a high-speed hub as well, and a line level output. The line level output there with the headphone jack is nice because, of course, if you want to kind of run a set of headphones to that, as opposed to having to run them to your system if your system's further away, it's just a nice point of convenience. Here we've also made some revisions in terms of actually the integration for what we call our on-screen kind of assist tools. And here you can see kind of like a central marker, safety areas, a ruler design, and you can actually customize elements of these. So these are cool overlays, which again are most beneficial to users that are actually utilizing their monitor for content creation. Blue light filtering, which just gives you different kind of blue light levels you can use in different types of scenarios that can benefit you. I like using them most, especially when you're maybe not working. Maybe you're doing like reading some email, maybe, you know, on a call with a client, or, you know, anything where you don't necessarily have to focus as much on color quality and accuracy, but you want to be able to go ahead and have, you know, some reduction in terms of blue light emission. And here we definitely don't want to forget about this. You do have VESA mount support, but you got height adjustment, swivel, pivot, and tilt is all available to you. Let me go ahead and show you guys images for the C-clamp. Hey, Andreas. Happy to have you here, man. Hey, Johan, we have actually already talked about the PG279QM in previous streams, and actually it's been updated in our product release calendar, but you should be seeing availability towards the end of this month. That's one of the key benefits of being part of the PCDIY group, is up-to-date kind of availability notices, although we do cover availability here on the PCDIY show when there are new updates. But if you're not tuning in every week, you might be missing that. So a better option is to be part of the group and also taking a look at our product release calendar, which I update on a weekly basis, which will give you an idea in terms of where we have products that have been announced but haven't been yet released, and kind of a little bit of kind of the buffer time period that we have between when we're releasing a product out to distribution and to what we call the channel, to ultimately when you can see it online listed at a retailer. Okay, but we are overall looking at availability towards the end of this month. Okay, so that is the PA329CV, but let me go ahead and show you this clamp design implementation, which is pretty slick on this monitor. I just need to go ahead and actually resize some of these images, so give me 1 sec to just make a tweak right here, guys. And I will show those to you guys. There we go. Just making an adjustment here to resize these, and we will be good to go. All right. Perfect. And the nice thing, I think, definitely with the C-clamp mount, if you haven't kind of utilized one, is that you can essentially kind of clamp it here, right? And so instead of having kind of a base where you're obstructing this kind of area right here, you can put it towards the back of something and rest it a little bit more permanently, so you get a little bit kind of more free space if you're using a lot of your desk environment. That is going to be kind of really the main advantage of a C-clamp mounting design. So here you go. So this is the actual C-clamp mounting design. You can see it's soft padded, very easy. You would pretty much just kind of mount this into place. You would then, you know, make your adjustment to be able to, of course, account for the thickness that you would have in relation to your desk. And then from there, the monitor goes ahead and goes on to the other end, and you're good to go. You have a stable, very firm level of adjustment available to you. And the nice thing is you still do have our ergonomic elements into it, because since it's docked directly into the base of the monitor, you still have flexibility in terms of what you can do from adjusting the monitor itself. So that is, I think, a very flexible point. Now, if we take a look at the base of the monitor, the traditional kind of design, go ahead and just kind of look at the base monitor here. You would see this is where the difference is. So we can see right here, sorry, there we go. On the kind of the left-hand side, you of course have what the monitor would have with the traditional base, and you have your cable routing points, and you can go ahead and lift and adjust it. Works still really well, but again, if you want to have more flexibility, you have the C-clamp design option, which just gives you a bit more flexibility in positioning it with different types of configurations, depending if maybe you want it on the side or you want it on the rear, and you just essentially want to maximize that overall desk space. And this monitor will be coming in at $7,999, so $799 will be the actual price point. And in terms of availability, we'll be updating the product release calendar within the group on this monitor. But again, probably be expecting a release for this more likely as we move into the I'd probably say the beginning of September, as we move into the middle of September timeframe in terms of its overall availability and release. Hey, Andreas, thanks for your feedback. I'll see about maybe tweaking that up. Okay, so next up, we will go ahead and now take a look here at the VZ27EHE. So if you're not familiar kind of with our V series monitors, they are kind of our stalwart ASUS series monitors, great options for those that are kind of just looking for a monitor where they're not necessarily going to spend a huge amount, but they can get something from a proven reliable manufacturer such as ourselves, ASUS. You know, you get to still maintain ASUS's really kind of class-leading warranty on monitors, which is a 3-year warranty, where many other manufacturers, especially at lower price points, might only offer like a 1-year warranty on their monitor. This will be an IPS-based display and a really good option, essentially, if maybe you've got an older monitor, you want to upgrade to an IPS-based display and have something that also has a thin bezel design aesthetic. So let's go ahead and take a look here at the new V series monitor. So let me, again, just let me load up the images here for this guy. And get this set up for you guys here. Okay, great. And I think we have the product page for this one so that I can go ahead and show you. So let me go ahead and actually first bring up the product page, and we can take a look at the specifications as well for this monitor. There we go. Yep, product page is already up here for it. Fantastic. Okay. Okay, so here we can see we've got the VA27EHE, so 27 inches, 1920 by 1080, so standard full HD resolution, IPS-based display. Kind of something that we've been doing with more of our recent entry series monitors. They feature a little bit of also a bump up in refresh rate, where most of the base monitors historically are 60 hertz. Now many of our entry monitors also feature 75 hertz refresh rate. It's not, of course, a gaming focused display, but it's nice to just be able to have a little bit of a higher refresh rate. VESA mount support, traditional HDMI connectivity, and of course you have VESA mounting flexibility if you're looking for that. So we've got the side images right here that we can just go through and click through a little bit more quickly. So let me go ahead and just load those in for you guys here. And one of the things I like about this monitor too is going to be that it's got a very thin bezel design. So if you're somebody that appreciates kind of this kind of clean aesthetic that we have on our monitors there, I think you'll definitely appreciate that. So we can see right here, you got your rear connections that are available right there, nice and easy to be able to access. You do have a little bit of an actual adjustment parameter here, so you can go ahead and tilt the panel back a little bit, which is nice for compensating for a little bit of kind of glare. You can see that you've got overall thin bezels throughout all 3 sides, and then a little bit of a thicker bezel at the base. But overall, a very, I think, nice update, and you can see a very compact and overall thin profile. So this is, like I said, a great kind of general upgrade monitor if maybe you just need a secondary monitor for maybe for general productivity, for general use. Maybe it's, you know, something you're recommending for a friend or for a family, or like I said, you've got just an older monitor you're looking to replace. Very solid option, and it's going to be coming in at $169. So very reasonable price point for this model. So this will, again, also be coming out a little bit as we move into the September timeframe. Okay. Hey, Johan. So we already have talked about this monitor. If you've got any questions, feel free and ask. I did already answer your question in terms of availability, but since it's not a new product, we're not focusing on it. It's new in terms of actually now being released in terms of the market. We may actually later do a little bit of a dedicated stream on our reflex-enabled monitors, as we also have the ROG SIF 360, which along with this model will be our 2 NVIDIA reflex-enabled monitors. It is really, I think, a benchmark monitor, so I know a huge amount of people have been interested in it. But as of right now, most users are right now just wondering about when it will be available. And as I noted a little bit earlier, you're going to be looking towards release availability at the very end of this month and as we move into the beginning of September timeframe. But if you have any other questions, feel free and let me know. It is definitely, I think, for many going to be the benchmark monitor because you hit that sweet spot in terms of having the integrated NVIDIA FPGA module, that high refresh rate, of course, with the 1440p resolution and a high quality IPS-based display. It's really a great combination to be able to provide a great experience. All right, guys. Okay, great. So that wraps up pretty much all our new product announcements that we had covered for this week. So nothing left in terms of that regard. Let me see if I can tweak that there, right there. But we are now going to go ahead and get ready to jump into something that we haven't had in a little bit, which is going to be one of my favorite portions of the stream, which is going to be the PCDIY Builder Spotlight. So for those of you that are first joining us now on the stream and haven't joined us in the past, the PCDIY Builder Spotlight is a way that we kind of love to just recognize and honor different types of modders, builders, and users in the community through their builds or their setups being featured on the stream. So there's no kind of specific requirements in terms of budget or price point. It could be air-cooled, it could be water-cooled, it could be mini ITX to full ATX, it could be a dual system. It doesn't matter. It could be a first-time build to, of course, a build from a veteran that has built, literally tens of hundreds of systems. It doesn't matter. We're just excited about being able to show off a range of systems. If you want to be able to partake in the PCDIY Builder Spotlight, all you need to do is go through the submission form. You can find that within the PCDIY Facebook group, and you can go ahead and submit your build, and I'd love to feature it here on the stream because it's always cool to be able to see what you guys are working on. So let's go ahead and jump into the first of our submissions here. I need to open up my forms. So give me 1 second here so I can actually make sure that I'm able to recap everything that everybody's wondering about in terms of these guys. So 1 second here. All right, there we go. And very cool. Okay. All right, so I've got our PCDIY Builder submission form in here. Oh, got our two-factor authentication. I gotta log in here, guys. So 1 moment here. Okay, great. So let's go ahead and take a look at our first system. So our first system, I believe, is going to be from really kind of a perennial veteran in the PCDIY kind of building community, somebody that is kind of really renowned in terms, I think, of an attention to detail. We have featured him in the past in terms of the PCDIY Builder Spotlight, and it's really just due to his part that maybe one of the best modders when it comes to overall theme execution. And when I talk about theme execution, what it means is that, when we see a build, there's kind of sometimes different narratives that people kind of have in mind, and the attention to detail at kind of bridging together that theme can be sometimes challenging, not only from a consistency standpoint, but also have kind of identifiers that help you really affirm kind of the look and feel that you're looking for when it comes to that overall theme. And AK Mod has definitely done that. So let's go ahead and take a look at this build right here. Quite an impressive build. All right, loading up images here, guys. And I'd love to see what your guys' thoughts are here on this build as well. So here we can actually see a little bit of starting off and just giving us a little bit of ROG accent. We can already see right here it's going to be a hardline based build, right, as opposed to, let's say, soft tubing. I'm a big fan of soft tubing as opposed to hardline. But, that being said, when both are done, they can both be fantastic. And here now we can see just a beautiful just primary wide shot of this system. And the thing I love about this is it totally has just a really bold and distinctive and different aesthetic, right? When you take a look at it, you don't necessarily realize that it's a PC, but then, if you're kind of a PC enthusiast, you can kind of realize that you've got the core of a chassis that's present to you there. You can actually see that you have the visibility of a motherboard. You can see that you have the water cooling hardline going into the CPU block. You've got your RAM, but it's these all additional kind of accents and details that really just to help to elevate the feel. And this thematic color too is really awesome to see, because green, I think, is a beautiful color, and we see it occasionally within mods and builds, but I'd say definitely not as frequent as, blacks, blues, reds, and even I'd say to a degree kind of some of the warmer tones as like pinks and purples you can see fairly commonly. But this is a pretty amazing in terms of the overall kind of feel that you have right here, right? So if we continue to just dive in right here, you can see the design work that we've got now here at the front. right, with these custom kind of grills, the coloring and the accents. It just has this really, really cool kind of industrial, almost kind of design aesthetic to it, almost like it's a piece of machinery, which I think is really, really beautiful. You can then see on the other side, of course, you've got the water-cooled graphics card and, of course, the tubing that's running into that as well. And the way that also I think the distros and of course, your pump and your reservoir and all that has been integrated together really kind of just sets a benchmark to just have a really beautiful, clean aesthetic to it. But at the same time, it has, you know, a definite purposeful design intent, right? I love this shot too here because it totally gives a different vibe when you don't see it from that side profile and you're directly looking at it from the front. This is one of the best things I think about custom builds. And in comparison to maybe things like, you know, one of the most popular chassis on the market is the 011. I like it. You know, I think it's a little bit of a not as identifiable chassis in reality because it doesn't have a strong front facade. And I love looking at a chassis from the front and seeing kind of at least some type of design aesthetic. And it's pretty much just a piece of glass. And you don't see the hardware because of the way that the actual chassis is designed. That chassis is best designed actually on a side angle. It's best visible on a side angle profile as opposed to a direct on profile. And here you get to see a really bold, cool, clean design aesthetic right from the front. Yeah, I 100% agree. It definitely looks like a spaceship type engine. I don't know, maybe like a, you know, some crazy kind of like industrial spaceship design engine, like something from like Aliens or something in that kind of worldview, right? I think it's got a little bit more kind of like a construction kind of feel to it, but definitely it has some interesting kind of, you know, I'd say industrialized kind of tech angles to it, right? But just stunning work right here. And again, this is why I say, you know, AK Mod, their attention to detail is really at the premier level of what you would see from a modder, from a builder. Really stunning work, and I'm always excited whenever they're working on a build. I already know that it's going to be, you know, one of the absolute probably best builds that I've seen in terms of its overall fit, finish, and like I said, thematic execution. I mean, look at this stuff on the bottom right here. It almost looks like it's like a mech, right? Like it could transform and like it would rise up, and then you would see kind of that front movement. Like it almost has legs. Like it actually feels like it's not a system because it's been so well designed in terms of having, you know, thematic design that really makes you kind of feel and evoke something else. So very, very cool. I actually want to get through to the actual submission form just to be able to kind of run through some items. I think this is a great shot to be able to leave it at where you can see just some more of the actual work right here. So let me see here if I can actually bring up the submission form for this build. So give me 1 second. And I think I can bring it up here. So 1 moment, guys. Okay. Just looking through it, guys. 1 moment, sorry. Since we haven't had the PCDIY Builder Spotlight in a little bit, I've had to actually kind of compile through, and so we've actually got a good number of submissions that I've had to go through and sort through. And so just need to actually kind of go through the forms here so I can just make sure to be able to kind of highlight everything I'm looking for. So that's why it's just taking me a moment here to get through essentially these guys so I can make sure I can pull up the corresponding information. Couple more to check here. Almost there. Oh, and actually, I think I didn't include that. So I will make sure to actually follow up and clarify that. So apologies on that side of AK Mod. Fantastic build. They're definitely going to be tagged in terms of the recognized builds for the PCDIY Spotlight submission. And thanks so much for submitting this. It's a fantastic build and just amazing work, man. So kudos through and through. Fantastic build. So with our next, I think, feature, let's jump into another themed build from another also amazing builder that we've got here, and that is going to be from SA Mod. Again, you know, one of the best in the game in terms of just, I think, providing builds that have a really kind of impressive design aesthetic and kind of thematic design, and that's definitely the case what we have here within this build. I think probably many of you, it would be pretty easy, where I think in the previous mod and build, we were kind of wondering, you know, what was your interpretation? Here, there's a pretty clean and identifiable build aesthetic and kind of theme that was achieved by the builder. So let's go ahead and show it off here. So I think pretty easy to see, guys. Of course, what we've got right here, or we've got Iron Man themed build in this system. Very, very cool in terms of the overall design aesthetic. Really nice touch right there in terms of the actual accent lighting that was done at the kind of the base of the chassis. Really cool in terms of the reactor there, kind of in the front of the system, which is also lit up. Of course, that nice silhouette and kind of portrait there on the side of the chassis. The colors are on point with that right balance of having the red be the correct tone. Beautiful, kind of nice, rich color, which has just a little bit of flecking and kind of metallic flair to it. I love the secondary accents there on the underglow that we have within the front of the chassis. This is actually even my favorite shot. I think it looks fantastic when it's not lit up, but I think just this dual kind of experience, right? I mean, if you kind of cut back and forth here, right? We go from having it be essentially illuminated, but with lighting, and then you go to a darker tone environment. I love the way that kind of here you just have that kind of pointed accent lighting there that just helps to kind of really bring alive and kind of add this additional element of kind of reinforcement to key portions of where you want your eyes to go to. And I think that any kind of artist, any type of builder really is doing great work, is putting that attention into it. So kudos, man. Fantastic work there. Really cool stuff. Vertically mounted card, which you can see has been fully customized. This is our TUF gaming card. Of course, our card doesn't come in this color, so all this custom work was done in terms of them custom painting the card. Love the kind of the yellow fluid that we have right here, again, going into the customization, which also exists on the water block. And again, you can see the attention to detail in terms of the paint and finish that was done on the chassis itself. Overall, just a stunning build and stunning working execution. So, of course, we've got, this is from Italian Extreme Modders, one of the absolute best modding groups that are out there. Really kind of set a fantastic benchmark. 3 words to describe this build: strong, cool, and heroic. I definitely agree with that. Core of the system components, we've got an ROG Strix X570E gaming, and then the TUF 5700 XT that's on there. In terms of what we're most kind of proud of is the Iron Man head reservoir that was utilized in terms of the customization for this build. Anything that they would change about it? No, nothing that they would change. Predominantly being used to actually play Warcraft along with a few other games, and also looking to probably upgrade in terms of the card into a 20 series RTX Strix graphics card. Favorite feature is actually the customization and lighting that's available through ASUS Aura Creator. So overall, kudos, man. Fantastic job. Again, to IEM and to SA Mod, man. Fantastic build. Loving it. All right, let's go up to our next build here. What do we got next up here? Next up is going to be, let me see here. I think is, yeah, this is Star Wars themed. So let's go ahead and see here. This one looks pretty cool. Find the folder. There we go. All right, guys. This looks like a pretty sweet build. And I think this is also from Team Tech Cave. Yeah, Tech Cave from Team IEM as well. Oh, really, really interesting right here. So this is got a definitely different vibe in terms of the overall aesthetic and the look and feel for the system. Here we can see, of course, we've got beautiful EK block, some really nice work there in terms of the actual hardline tubing and routing. This is going to be an on ROG Strix board, which you can see, of course, right there. And if you haven't seen, this is also going to be in a small form factor. So this is mini ITX, and then we also are going to have a TUF gaming graphic card in here. We've got our additional kind of water cooling hardware that we've got in there. Got some HyperX DIMMs, which are fully supported in terms of ASUS Source Sync. Nice little accent right there in terms of the Stormtrooper work. I love that kind of angled shot right there. Very, very cool. I mean, this is, and if you haven't noticed, this is actually in the ROG Z11 chassis. One of the cool things about the Z11 chassis is that you can actually orient this both vertically or horizontally. And we've actually shown this off in some of the previous PCDIY builder spotlights. Because of that kind of dual orientation, it gives the kind of the chassis a really kind of distinctive look and feel. Name of the build is the Empire Project. Clean, compact, and powerful. Key hardware that we got in here is an ROG Strix Z490-i, 10700K. Actually, graphics card is a TUF Gaming 3060 Ti. We've got 1 terabyte Kingston A2000 M.2 SSD, Prime Series Seasonic power supply, 750 watt, and then 32 gigabytes of that Kingston HyperX 3600 memory. Most kind of aspect that he was proud of was going to be the Stormtrooper etched on glass. Wow, let's go back to that Stormtrooper. So that Stormtrooper there is actually etched. That's pretty cool. That's pretty cool. Of course, the Star Wars theme. Took them about a month to build this, which actually I'd say for the amount of work is pretty awesome. Games that are being played on most, Warzone, as well as Metro Last Light, as well as also being used for general gaming and some YouTube content creation. His kind of favorite aspect in terms of ASUS is overall kind of design aesthetic and the design language of our hardware, man. So overall, very cool, man. Kudos, Tech Cave, IEM, another killer build, another killer mod. Very cool. Let's head over to our next build here. And next one is going to be from George. And let me see here if I can bring up the images for this guy. Okay, yep, I got it right here. And this one's pretty cool because we definitely have kind of a difference in terms of RGB to non-RGB experience. All right, guys. So here we go. Let's see what we got going on. Fantex chassis, one of my absolute favorite partners. They make fantastic chassis. Look beautifully with our hardware. And we can see that, of course, we have an ROG board that's in there, fantastic. There you can see some very interesting kind of work that's been done in terms of kind of the water cooling routing. So we have, of course, the water block, and then we, of course, have the tubing that's going out towards the back as if you were going out to the rear fan mount location. And then we have a kind of a split design coming out from the bottom of the GPU. I always love seeing a horizontally mounted GPU because it gives you more visibility for the bottom of the motherboard. Here we can see that we're actually leveraging that by seeing the ROG Eye. I'm always a little bit torn though by tubing that runs over some of the design language that you have on the motherboard. Like I would have loved to maybe seen maybe a little bit more of a split angled line that might have helped to allow that ROG accent to shine through, but still really cool aesthetic. It's got a really cool, interesting vibe to it. Hey, Bryce. Yeah, we actually have announced previously, no new updates on it, but there is an ROG EATX chassis that we will have coming out. But as of right now, there's no new chassis that I can specifically dive into. The current chassis that we've already released have already essentially been launched. So the ROG Helios, which of course you can get in 2 different colors. The Z11 was our most recent additional introduction. And of course, then we have the TUF Gaming chassis with the GT501 and the GT301. But we are working on a new next generation EATX kind of large specialized design chassis. And you can actually see previews of it if you want to either one, join the PCDIY group and take a look at the announcement that we did where we posted actually the preview images of it. Or if you haven't, download the ROG Citadel software in Steam. And this actually allows you to kind of have a world preview of all kinds of cool kinds of products that we have in that virtual environment, and it includes that chassis. Okay. So Here, you can definitely see dynamic kind of rainbow RGB lighting pattern that we have right here. It looks pretty cool, pretty bold, pretty eclectic. Definitely clean and well executed. Really nice, clean job there on the actual cable combs, along with, of course, those clean, just flat cables that we've got routed there directly to the side and then coming down from the graphics card in that horizontal profile. Really well done there. So overall, I mean, even though, like I said, it is covering that ROG logo there on the side, the cleanliness of the execution is really well done, and overall a very cool looking build. I would have loved to even see maybe what like a gradient color scheme would look like here. So maybe if we picked, like, they're 1 to like 3 colors and just see how kind of the different kind of tone that we have here. This is definitely a gradient, which I think looks pretty cool, where you've got the pink, purple kind of going into the blues and teals overall. So it's not actually a rainbow. It's actually more of a gradient based theme. But overall, it's pretty nicely done and I like it. Got those G skill, looks like those are royals. And then we've got, you can see the cool part there about part of the reason why kind of the tubing was structured in the way that it was done is you can see that you've got that distro plate that's there directly for the back of the chassis. And that also allows for kind of a different visual aesthetic and also for kind of just a different setup experience as well, because traditionally you would see a distro plate running either to the kind of the side, which there is actually a similar plate there, or to the front. So in this configuration, it's actually done a little bit differently. And overall, there you go. So very cool build, man. Let me go ahead and see if we can take a look here at your submission form. So George, it's not his first build. Odessa, I believe, is the actual name of the build. Custom, cold, and clean is essentially the 3 words that he would use to describe his system. In addition to that, let's see, the overall budget for this was $4,500. He's most proud of the custom distro plates and the loop. No overall theme, but I think to some degree he had a kind of a perspective in terms of what he wanted in terms of the visual aesthetic. Anything he would change? Nothing he would change about the build. Took him overall 6 months of time to do the overall kind of design and kind of getting everything blocked out, as well as kind of wading through to be able to get all the hardware that he needed for the build. And it's pretty much all used for gaming, and he does do overclocking the system. Some of the games he's playing is Valorant, CSGO, and Battlefield. And his favorite feature is dynamic OC switcher on the CROSSHAIR 8 Dark Hero, which is, of course, at the core of this build. So kudos, man. Very cool build. George, Port Greek builds. Kudos, man. Very nice. Hey, Kevin. So Kevin's asking about patch C BIOS update on B550F. So I already noted there was already essentially some additional updates that went out for motherboards, I think last week. And as we previously already announced, for all 400 and 500 series motherboards, we would not have all releases completed until the very end of August and moving into the beginning of September. So we're still actually aligned with that time frame, and we have largely released many of those updates. It is also important to note that there was a transition between the patch B to the patch C, and so that also required a little bit of additional validation timeline. But we are still holding accurate to the previous timeline, where we will have all boards essentially updated to that latest patch C release by our projected timeline of, like I said, end of August, moving into early September. If you're looking for more information, as always, make sure to go ahead and take a look at the announcements posts that go up on Fridays. And like I said, just be patient in terms of just waiting for those releases. Ultimately, at the end of the day, keep in mind that these releases are also best suited and really targeted towards users that need the USB interoperability update. If you're just looking for a UEFI update for an esoteric reason, it might not necessarily be worthwhile, especially if you've already got a predefined and kind of dialed in operating profile, which is stable and reliable, especially if it's overclocked. Hopefully that answers your question, man. So next up, let's take a look at our next build. So give me 1 second here, and we will jump into our next build. This is going to be from, Jessley, I believe. Jessley is the first name for this individual. So let's go ahead and take a look and see what you are bringing here. Yes, Jessley. Oh, I remember Jessley's build. Jessley's build is It's pretty cool. It's got a pretty cool kind of distinctive design aesthetic here. Okay, loading up the images here. And there we go. Okay, so let's see what we got here. A little bit of a vertical orientation. Oh, okay, we can already see that we've got a board that's got an OLED live dash display. We got some Corsair dominators. We got water cooling going on here. Got some rainbow color scheme there from the RGB. Oh, wow, we went heavy there. Okay, here we go. This is definitely a lot of work here. This is cool though, because we're also utilizing an ROG chassis. So this is the Helios. Helios is really a very friendly chassis for water cooling because it's got a lot of room in it to be able to comfortably mount a lot of different hardware. You can actually see here that we have a pump reservoir, 2 of them in there at the front, along with a lot of tubing running out from the core kind of water cooling out into the motherboard as well as into the graphics card. I really love kind of the split design here. And I believe actually we did feature the original version of this in an earlier PCDIY Web Builder Spotlight, but it was resubmitted because there was a change to the color and the fluid. So overall, I'd love to see what your guys' thoughts and feedback. What is your thoughts here on the changes from Jesse's build? Do you like the before or do you like the after? Both look really cool. You know, when you go with kind of clear gives you kind of that transparent element and kind of color comes through, but you might not necessarily have as discernible and kind of focused color feeling. Definitely you can see that where you've got the yellow and the reds, it definitely has a consistent color and feel and has maybe even a stronger pop to it that helps to reinforce kind of color theory. Because if you kind of know things about color theories, if you put either a complement or a contrast color, it helps to kind of that other color be reinforced or a little bit more particular. And, you know, especially if in tones, they're similar in terms of kind of the color wheel, it helps them to pop a little bit more too. So this is pretty sweet. It's very, very cool in terms of the overall kind of build here. There we can see this is Zenith. So this is a Threadripper based platform. And of course, Threadripper, you got to love the fact that you can run on some large density DRAM configurations. So a lot of DRAM running here. So overall, Jesse, very, very cool, man. That is a serious build, a lot of undertaking in terms of the time and effort to kind of get that all dialed in there. So let's see what we got here in terms of your submission. So the actual theme was Dark Gundam, okay? Best Killer Rig, pretty serious system right here, man. We're talking Ryzen Threadripper 3970X. It's running on a Zenith 2 Extreme Alpha, 64 gigabytes worth of memory, 3600 Corsair Dominator Platinum. He's got a TUF Gaming 3090 water-cooled, of course. He's then running multiple M.2 SSDs. He's got a 512 gigabyte XPG SSD, and then two terabyte Rocket Gen 4 SSDs, 1500 watt power supply. Of course, he's got those Landly Unifans, 7 of them inside that Helios, and then quite a bit of EK hardware where he's got the quantum momentum monoblock for the board, of course the water block for the TUF Gaming graphics card, and then he's also running the quantum kinetic there in terms of the D5 pump reservoirs. He's also running some supplemental radiators from Beisky, and then flow and temperature sensors as well. 11,000 for this overall build. Overall aspect that he's most happy about is just kind of how it looks and the motherboard and the 3970X's performance. He'd like to change the card to a Strix 3090. Took him 5 days to build a system. Kudos, man. That's a serious system to build in 5 days. I'm assuming that probably also included maybe some bleeding time, filling up the reservoir, testing out the hardware and things like that. He's using it for AutoCAD, gaming, a little bit of Dota, Valorant, CSGO, and a few other games. And he absolutely is a huge fan of the Armory Crate software, just to be able to kind of tie everything together and be able to control all his lighting. So overall, Jesse, cool build, man. Like the actual updates. Nice stuff, man. All right, guys, we've got a couple left here before we wrap things up, so let's continue forward here. Next is going to be Terran, or Chichu would be a name that they've gone ahead and supplied here. So let's go ahead and take a look at this build. I think I have, yep, here we go. Okay. Give me 1 second here. Oh, I was definitely a fan of this one. This was definitely a recent favorite of mine. Here we go. And this has got like the whole setup vibe going on here. They gave us the whole image. Very, very, very cool. Got those kind of blues, pinks, and purples vibes going on right there. Of course, you've got a very popular chassis right here. You've got a traditional tower heatsink design, which actually I think complements the look and feel here, and definitely nothing wrong with it. You don't have to use an AIO cooler or custom water cooling. You know, that's one of the things we love about PCDIY Builder Spotlight is showing builds of all types across the board, just to be able to kind of, you know, reinforce the fact that, you know, when you go about building a system, there's a lot of different ways to do it. And as long as you kind of take your time and effort into putting together a system, there's not necessarily a wrong way to do it, because that's the cool thing about the PCDIY experience is you get to build a system how you want it. I'm really liking the vibe right there. I love the little gradient that you did with the G-Scale memory that we've got in there. We've got an ROG Strix board. We can see, of course, that this is a Ryzen series processor because, of course, we've got the Spire cooler in there. Got some cool fans, and then we even have an ROG Strix. This looks like probably like a 20 series card in there, and we've got it in that horizontal profile, so you can see the lighting there on the side profile as well as on the back plate with the ROG Eye. And it looks like you also have a screen that you've put there into the back of the chassis, and there you can see it with the RGB off and the RGB on. So let's go RGB on, RGB off. Overall, cool build. I'm definitely feeling it. It's got a cool, distinctive design aesthetic to it. So let's see here what we got in terms of your submission details. Okay, so no name for this system. 3 words to describe the build: simple yet fun. It's running off a ROG Strix X570E. Yep, a Strix 2060 OC edition, 3800X CPU, Trident Z 3600 megahertz memory, 850 watt power supply. The in-wind Cirrus Loop fans with the Wraith Prism cooler, 2 terabyte M.2 SSD, and overall, you know, some supplemented peripherals. About $3,000 for the system. What most proud of, putting it all together, and I would 100% agree with you. Did an awesome job. It's a great looking build, so kudos. Overall theme is city streets and neon lights, and I think you nailed it, so great. What most excited about maybe being able to upgrade later on, if they would change anything, is upgrading to an RTX Strix card, a 3080, and then an ROG Ryzen 2 cooler. I think both of those would look really cool and add to the feel, because the 3080 card with that RGB light bar across the entire TV would really have that kind of like neon lights and kind of street, kind of racing vibe to it. And the Ryzen 2, because it has that really big screen, would allow you to kind of customize and add some really cool elements, so you could make the kind of the center portion be a little bit more dynamic. So I think that would be pretty sweet. Plays a lot of Call of Duty, GTA, and Red Dead Redemption. And overall, kind of favorite things about the ASUS is the overall aesthetic design and that we make quality products. Man, awesome build overall. Great job, Taryn. Very, very cool. Really like this build. All right, we're going to take a look at 2 more builds, guys, and then we're going to wrap things up here. So let's go ahead and get over to our next builds. And this is going to be from NGen PCs, William. This is actually from one of the moderators in the PCDIY group. Always fantastic to see what he brings to the table, because he definitely brings quite a bit to the table when you're talking about a build. So let me see what we got going on here. And I will tell you, definitely one of maybe the most envy-worthy setups that you're going to see around in terms of the overall dedication of the kind of look and feel that we've got here. All right, here we go. So that's how we're getting in. That's how we're getting into this room, right? Because you can tell William NGen PCs here is not playing around, right? So we're now getting ready. We go in. We can see that we've got a massive collection, really, really cool kind of statue figurine collection that's going on there to supplement kind of this entire kind of room experience. You can definitely see now we've got one system right here. We have another, of course, system featuring one of the kind of custom Premier. I think this is in-wind chassis that are, of course, there, and a customization experience right there in terms of that kind of egg type system set up there. Pretty crazy. Then we go to the primary setup, and just stunning. I mean, just look at that. That is just a beautiful setup. You can see that he takes things seriously, has a focus on quality and execution that is just top notch, beautifully done there with, of course, all the monitors, got all the wallpapers set up. The vibe and just the setup is on point, man. Kudos and thumbs up. This is extremely well done. Love the, of course, the lighting kind of just aligns with everything, helps to accent everything off. Of course, you got, you know, you got your protection there for your, of course, the casters, not having a roll up there on the carpet, giving you smooth tracking and also not eat up in your carpet. So, you know, some nice ergonomic chairs. Of course, another in-wind chassis there. And just accent pieces that look really beautiful and just add an element, I think, of art to the room, which kind of gives a really kind of cool, distinctive feel that you kind of are looking into it and you kind of know that you've got maybe something going on there. But to people that might not be aware that they're computer systems, they're kind of cool because they really just do look like kind of things that you putting into a room that add, I think, an art decor kind of element to it that are definitely distinctive and different. Got our ROG Swift monitor right there, on point, of course, giving you that great, you know, high refresh rate gaming experience. And of course, your RG peripherals on point there as well. And you can also see, I believe that's the scabbard in terms of the gaming pad. I've got the sheath right here, but I think that's the scabbard. So overall, sweet, man. Let me go ahead and just recap what we got going on here. There's so much hardware that we've got in that setup. And let me actually go back to probably that wide master shot. That's a really good one that, of course, covers both the systems. But yeah, I think I'm going to stay on that one right there. But let's see what we've got going on right here. This is a dual PC game room, right, and studio for Engine PCs. Engine PCs is the pronunciation, so Engine PCs. Showcase PCs, multiplayer gaming, and in-wind signature as 3 words to describe here. We can see that both systems are actually identical systems, so they are running Maximus Formula Series motherboards with 9700Ks that are overclocked, 5700 XT graphics cards, 32 gigs of RAM, 2 terabyte NVMe SSDs, and Thor 850 watt power supplies. Overall, definitely the glass door for the entrance, the room itself, followed by the kind of the overall internals and kind of the matching peripherals and the consistency, I think, of the room environment is really what I think he's most happy with. Plus the VR base stations in terms of how they power on and off as they're attached to the light switch, which that's pretty cool because it just like you can kind of go into the room, turn everything off, have it come on, and then turn it off and then go away from there. 2-player theme, purple versus red, and then of course anime, which you can see is present in terms of kind of a theme. The third station below the logo is used for gaming, laptop testing, computers, and friends. I think that's actually a really cool kind of way set up that you have some flexibility to do some other things in that space too. So cool way of kind of maximizing space use there. Overall, 70 to 80 hours and really kind of getting to the entirety of the system, the room and the environment, everything was like a 4-year journey, man. So kudos, man, because you can definitely tell this is kind of one of these dream-worthy kind of room and environments that people would really love to have, that they could kind of put things all together in. Games that he's enjoying, some Half-Life Alyx, Genshin Impact, Divinity Original Sin, yeah, love it, Halo, and just overall just enjoying some quality gaming sessions, man. Some of the favorite features he's liking in terms of ASUS, QFan tuning, and just overall just really appreciating what we're doing on the motherboard design and the features and functionalities that we have there, man. So fantastic, man. You're an amazing moderator and part of the group, and thank you so much. This is an awesome system and an awesome setup. Andreas, I'm not sure on actually who makes those chairs. We could definitely tag William and ask him in the group. I would definitely recommend you can tag him and ask him actually who manufactures those chairs for his system. Hey, Leon, that's actually a really great question. You know, so we haven't recently updated the high-end Zonar line in quite some time. Generally, you don't need to update these kind of high-end cards, as you might kind of be aware. In the high-end audiophile space, you can see specialized components and devices literally have multi-year lifespan, sometimes even upwards of a decade, even when newer technology comes out, because there could be audio characteristics and tone and kind of experience that people really love. And, you know, the Zonar STX line, the last saw the Zonar STX2, was really kind of well received, and it continues to still, even to this day, be a benchmark in terms of its overall kind of experience, its tonality. We did also offer quite a number of external solutions, which we are no longer offering, or we had the Zonar Essence 1 and multiple follow-ups, including the Zonar Essence 2, and I think the Essence 3, There was the STU as well. Right now, there's no immediate plans. The most kind of recent update that we've had in terms of an audio-centric kind of focused device is the ROG Clavis, which is our USB-C DAC, which is a very small compact DAC. It's probably, it's smaller than this keychain right here. It's actually closer to about the size of a flash drive. It features a quad ESS Sabre DAC, and it's a nice little option. But in terms of a dedicated kind of premier level card, right now there's nothing that we're ready to disclose, but we definitely think that there's a continued opportunity, and it's an area that we have a lot of expertise in. So like always, make sure to keep it tuned to the group and to the space, and we'd love to continue to see your guys' feedback if that's something that you would like to see from us in the future in terms of a kind of a dedicated solution, whether it might be a USB-based solution or, of course, an internal PCIe-based solution. At the same time, we're also still trying to continue to improve the integrated quality and experience that we offer directly on products like our motherboards, but of course, isolated products like you would have with a PCIe card or USB card have value because, of course, they can be moved from system to system, and they're not physically limited by the space or the cost considerations that you have to have when you're integrating on a motherboard. But that also inherently drives up the cost for those products as well, because we're usually looking to provide a more premium level of performance and feature set on those products. Yeah, so Andreas, you can definitely make sure to tag William. He's the moderator actually in the PCDIY group. I'll make sure and tag him. If you want, just make sure to watch out for the post that'll be coming out later, that I'll tag him for the PCDIY Builder Spotlight, and we can definitely ask him and see what his chairs are. All right, guys, so we got one more build that we're going to throw up here, and we will wrap things up. So let's see who we've got for this. So this is going to be Kalin. Either Kaylin or Callan. Hopefully I'm pronouncing your name right, so apologies if I'm not. Let me go ahead and just bring up your build here so I can make sure to know what we're talking about here. Okay, cool. And okay, very cool. So here we've got a really cool and interesting kind of build, right? This is got a totally like horizontal based vibe, right? In terms of what we're doing, in terms of kind of look and feel. I love the bright blue fluid that we have here. It just really stands out against, of course, the black that we have from the motherboard and, of course, the chassis and the rest of the components that we have in the system. And then just a little bit of RGB accenting to add some, maybe some contrast and just some lighting that's present on there. Those custom cables look fantastic and go perfectly with the theme of this build. I love that there's a little bit of a gradient play right there, but the blue tie-in works really, really nicely with that. Hey, gamer, let me see. Any plans to incorporate... So I'm not sure what you're referring to when you're talking about incorporating personal ear and head mapping. So if you're talking about like spatial audio implementations, we've actually already implemented many types of spatial audio and virtual audio options that we have. Sonic Studio actually has quite a bit of these options, and many of the new motherboards actually come with a DTS-X, which is a spatial actually option that allows for positional audio cueing adjustments. There's actually games that even readily support that. So we have already kind of enabled these type of options available within quite a number of our pieces of software. Whether or not you might have had access to them or utilized them, I'm not sure or aware. But if you definitely have more specific points of that you would like to see implemented in terms of that, feel free to let me know. But this can be one of the tricky things. What we definitely see feedback from the community is the community usually prefers a focus on, I think, strong stereo or native image listening experiences. But I definitely do say that if you have good quality virtualization options and spatial audio options, they can genuinely provide to you more layering, more texture, and a more dynamic listening experience. The problem is that you have to have really well-tuned kind of drivers and software that allows for this experience to be really well realized. And so this can be a tricky balancing act. And many times individuals or media don't also do a kind of full deep dive test into this. So the kind of subjective kind of interpretation of the value of this can kind of sometimes be negative or not seem as strong, even when there can be really strong value elements to it. And so in that regard, it can be challenging to spend the time, cost, and consideration to implement kind of advanced spatial options let's say, into different types of products, when, you know, subjectively some people might criticize their value. But, you know, we're definitely always looking to try to offer, I think, users new types of options to be able to improve their experience, whether it's going to be, you know, music, movies, games, whatever it might be relative to the device we have. So definitely that is something that we're actively looking at, and we're involved with working with many different partners on. And so I'd love to see your feedback in that, if that's something that, you know, you would want to continue to kind of see be worked on. But let's go ahead and continue to kind of look at kind of the build right here. Got, of course, those custom cables that we have in there. 30 series card. You can see the ROG Strix logo there because it's in that vertical mount. You got your, of course, your hardline tubes that are running in there. Looks like there's some customization is there also on the DRAM. And some bearing. So overall, it's pretty cool. Some people might find that there's kind of wasted space. I think negative space can actually sometimes be interesting. I don't think that you always have to fill everything. I think sometimes adding an element of kind of broom or breathability, quote unquote, in a system, even though that's not a term, right? But just kind of the visual breadth of a system in terms of kind of where you feel that there's an ebb and flow of kind of space can actually add, I think, an interesting dynamic to it. Not everybody may not like it, but again, that's why it's PCDIY. You build your system for yourself. And actually, I like it. I like that there is a room and a relative spacing that allows to create a little bit of dimension and depth within this. So let's take a little bit of a closer look here and see what were some of the aspects behind this build. So let's see, just this PC. There's no name for the PC. It was a lifelong project. Hardware that we've got in here, it's based off an ROG Strix X470F, Ryzen 3900X, RTX 3080 graphics card, 64 gigabytes of Dominator Platinum, which makes sense because in that Dominator Platinum, you can customize those, essentially the covers that you have there on the DIMMs. So you essentially remove those and I think probably painted them. K-Slab's one of the absolute best chassis that are no longer actively produced, but amazing quality. The fit and finish was outstanding and really mod friendly for different type of water cooling builds, really predating a lot of what we see in modern chassis design. But an SMA 8 with custom water cooling loops that's present within that. What he's most happy with is the overall look of the system. Blue being kind of the overall theme, is what he has there. He's just kind of continually kept upgrading the system over time until it's kind of got him to where he is right now. He predominantly uses the system for gaming and photo editing. His favorite games is Battlefield 4, Call of Duty, Red Dead Redemption, and GTA 5. And his favorite feature on ASUS boards currently is a ASUS Aura lighting experience. Overall, man, cool job, man. It's a cool build. It's got a different vibe to it, and I really love just the pop of blue that we have there. So overall, definitely a cool aesthetic. Actually, I think I've got one last build in here that I wanted to kind of touch on. So let me just see if I have those images ready, and we will get ready to wrap things up, guys. So give me 1 second right here. Yes, I got it right here. Okay, yep. This is from Aline or Alan. Hopefully I'm pronouncing it right. Apologies if I'm not. Oh, interesting. I don't think all your images uploaded, so let me go ahead and see if I can just download some of these images quickly. And we will get this in place. So I'm going to put in the first two that we've got right here, and then I'm going to download the remainder of your images so we can show this off. So give me 1 second. All right, guys, there we go. So we've got some of those images set off there, and I'm just going to load up the others. So give me 1 second. Okay, very cool. So we can see right here we've got an ROG Helios chassis. I love the fact that you didn't change the fans that are in the front. Some people will put RGB fans in the front of the Helios, and while that can be kind of cool because you can have a little bit of the light through the transparent glass, you don't get as strong visibility to that kind of pattern finish that we have there that's in the front of the chassis with the RGB lighting. So I think that looks really cool right there. We go ahead and also then go to the wider setup. Man, multi-monitor setup is on point, right? I think that might be a little bit too much, maybe 4 monitors stacked in that type of configuration. For me personally, I like the traditional, just kind of a 2-monitor workflow for me, or a larger single monitor is kind of just my general preference. But definitely, if you find the usefulness in this type of configuration work for you relative to your workflow, man, fantastic. But overall, very, very, very cute, very cool. So this is a really interesting setup, really clean, really well done, very much on point, man. And then, of course, that system is super nice. You can also see right there that you've got, looks to be an RTX 3080 series card, and then you've got an RG Strix board, and you even got a Horseman there inside your chassis. So let me see if I can bring down your other images right here so we can take a closer look. Yep. Okay, cool. I've got them right here. Oh yeah, and I think actually Alan even supplied a little bit of a video here, guys, so I can go ahead and show that to you guys as well. Okay, very cool. Okay, so let's load this in here. Okay, and go to our downloads. Sorry, guys, one moment right here. Just want to make sure I'm pulling up all the files I need to. Oh, there we go. Okay, great. And Spotlight. Okay, perfect. Okay, and I think we've got the video file right here. Oh, can't actually upload that video file. It's in a not a format that met actually our requirements, so I can't actually show that off. And what I can do though is let me resave your DNG files here so I can upload these correctly and allow people to kind of see this a little bit more quickly, because I think the inside of your system is pretty slick. So want to make sure that actually people can check this out a little bit more. There we go, and very cool. And I think we've got, yeah, JPEG right here. Okay, cool. All right. Had to do a little bit of a shuffle right there, but I think there we go. And oh, my fault, guys. Sorry, I saved the wrong file. So that's my fault there. Okay. There we go. And this is why definitely if you guys submit on the PCDIY, just try to make sure that you guys help to follow our recommendations on the formatting. And that makes it just a little bit easier on my side when I have to kind of pull up the files that we'll be using for the stream and whatnot, right? But usually I also beforehand I try to make sure to have all the files on hand so that I can make things work. But here I just didn't have as much time, but no worries. So here we can see a little bit of a close-up shot there. I think this is a kind of cool shot side profile where you can actually see he's got the vertical mount. He's got the RG Strix LC cooler, the RGB, the Aura RGB terminal that's in there. We no longer manufacture that. And then, of course, the Horseman figurine that's in there. Thor Series power supply. He's got the actual Delta headset and the RG Strix LC 360 cooler mounted there at the top. Overall, it's definitely a cool system. Here he's gone with a little bit more kind of a white-themed light kind of a vibe to it. Oh, hey, yeah, an update to the GR8. The GR8 was a very cool mini PC. I would agree, actually, it would be pretty cool, I think, especially with modern generation hardware, maybe something like with like a Ryzen 5000 series even a mobile processor within that, and you could actually put a mobile series GPU that's in there, keep it still compact and very thin like the GR8, I think would be really, really cool, really impressive design. I think you actually make a really good point to that. So it would be really cool to be able to see actually an update to that. Hey, Betty, thanks for joining the stream as well. But yeah, definitely a Gameaholic, man. That's a really good recommendation in terms of, I think, the GR8 update. It would be cool to be able to see an updated, 2021 model or something along those lines. I think Alan did also supply an alternate, yeah, he's got one other image right here that I think I want to show off, where he gives us a little bit of a different color scheme. And this is kind of the cool thing, I guess, with RGB, right, is giving you the flexibility that you don't always have to go with one color. You can change things up over time, and that allows you to kind of have a different look and feel when you go with the system in here. I'd love to see kind of what you guys think in terms of your thoughts. Now, personally, I would have loved to go with maybe the graphics card in a horizontal profile, because I think with the horizontal profile, you would even have like a bolder light aesthetic, because you would have that visible RGB light bar. But here you can see that he's put the color theme a little bit more into play, which is kind of going with a little bit more of a kind of somewhat red, kind of pink purple kind of theme, and I think that overall works well. About the only thing is that maybe I would have kind of tried to, like I said, maybe take those LEDs and either kind of angle them a little bit more inwards to have the fill lighting be a little bit more kind of balanced, so that you don't necessarily see the spotlight pattern that you get from kind of the LEDs. But overall, it's definitely a cool looking build, man, and definitely that monitor configuration is definitely on point as well. So let me go ahead and just recap here what we've got in terms of your overall base kind of configuration and hardware, and we will wrap things up. So actually, let's leave it there on an image for you guys, so you guys can see what we're talking about. And yeah, we'll leave it. I think, yeah, we can just leave it with that one. And let's see overall here what we've got. So system-wise, this is Lenraid. Excuse me, no, apologies. The Beast is the name of the system. Expensive Dream Machine. Pretty high-end components that we're running here. This is a Z390-E motherboard, RG Strix 97K, overclocked at 5 gigahertz. 32 gigabytes at 4,000 megahertz. Then he's running that 4 monitor configuration that we noted, right? And then he's got one large 50-inch TV, which is part of the setup, that ROG Helios chassis, the Strix LC 360 AIO, 400, 1200 watt power supply. He's running ROG peripherals across the board, man, awesome. He's got the Strix Flare keyboard. He's got the bathless mouse, Qi mouse pad, essentially gaming surface, Chakra mouse, RTX 3080 graphics card. He's even got an ASUS router, AC88U. The terminal that's in there, the Aura RGB terminal, Horseman figure, Sheath mouse pad, Delta S headset. He's running dual M.2 SSDs in there. He's also got the Throne, which is the ROG headphone stand with a built-in DAC, and then some additional SSDs, hard drive in there as well. And overall, pretty awesome system, I would agree. Yeah, $6,000, but definitely with that overclock at 5 gigahertz, it definitely helps extend out the performance and experience you have, even with a little bit of an older CPU platform at this time. His favorite aspect, the overall look of the build, ROG. He's looking to maybe be able to get an Chariot RGB chair. Took him about 3 months of time. Favorite games is GTA, as well as Days Gone, and then Flight Simulator. And Army Crate is his favorite aspect in terms of our current software and our current systems. No, Cam is the same on my end, man. So overall, guys, thank you guys so much for joining the stream. As always, it's fantastic to have you guys here. If you guys have any questions, comments, concerns, feel free to go ahead and drop them in the comment section. If you're watching us on YouTube, make sure to go and hit that subscribe button, hit that like button. And like I said, if you have any questions or comments, drop them there. If you're checking us out on Facebook replay as well, make sure to go ahead and drop your questions or comments there. And if you guys want to follow up with any other questions relative to any DIY hardware, make sure to go ahead and check us out in the PCDIY Facebook group. So with that, guys, take care, take it easy, enjoy the rest of your day, stay safe, stay healthy, and have a good weekend. And we'll see you guys in next week's